like to call the Commission, Conservation Commission and Inland Wetlands Agency regular meeting to order July 11, 2024 at 6:31. Roll call, please.
Rick Palmer.
Here.
Tom Murphy.
Here.
Ms. Dalton. Here. Joe Paletta.
Here.
Luigi Cavallo.
Here.
Ed Norton. Michael Jett.
Here.
Charles Belleville.
Thank you. 3, public hearing. Ned, could you read the ground rules?
Ground rules, Conservation Commission, Inland Wetland Agency. 1, the applicant or his or her representative will make his or her formal presentation to the commission stating the proposed regulated activities, the wetland impacts, and the alternatives which were considered by the applicant. 2, all comments, discussion, and observation shall be made through the chairperson after proper recognition by the chairperson. This is necessary to ensure that only one person at a time speaks on any issue, thus making it easier for everyone to understand and for clearer legal transcription. 3, all persons addressing the commission shall begin by first clearly stating their name and address for the record. If necessary, the person may be asked to spell his or her name for the record. 4, following the presentation of the application, the Conservation Commission and the Wetland Agency will ask specific questions of the applicant. 5, after the commission has asked its questions of the applicant, the chairman will then allow any members of the public who wish to speak either in favor of this application or against it to address the commission. 6, the chairman shall then allow the applicant to respond to the comments of the members of the general public. 7, the chairman shall then allow any members of the general public who wish to present any additional information or clarifying discussion to do so. 8, the chairman shall then provide an opportunity for the applicant to respond to these additional remarks if he or she or his or her representative so wishes. 9, the Conservation Commission and the Wetland Agency has 35 days from the date the public hearing commences to complete the public hearing. The Commission may ask the applicant for a 35-day extension of the public hearing period if the Commission requires any additional information or wishes to schedule a site walk or to observe the situation for themselves. 10, the Conservation Commission and the Wetland Agency has 35 days from the date when the public hearing is closed to render its decision.
Thanks, Ned. A, continuation of the public hearing from June 13, 2020 for the application 2024-7 of Newport Realty Group LLC for the construction of Turnberry Estates, a 34-unit active adult community on 24.6-acre parcel to be located off Pondview Drive, Watertown.
Good evening, Commission. For the record, it's Matthew Sanford, professional wetland scientist, registered soil scientist with SLR. At your last public hearing, it was continued to await the town's consultant comments as it relates to the stormwater calculations on the site. Our team received a letter from Landtech, who is the consultant for the town, on July 5th, 2024. We have reviewed those comments. We have provided the Commission with a letter dated July 9th, 2024, with our response to those comments. I will briefly go through a few of the comments. I won't highlight each one of them, but what the plan is we'll go through the comments, and I think then we'll turn it over to the Commission for questions, and then allow the town's consultant to come up and provide testimony for the record as well. So one of the comments that was raised under the engineering design plan comments in the letter was related to the seasonally high groundwater table. There was some indications when we did initial test pits several months ago of a water table within and around 36 inches below the soil surface. The town's consultant would like additional test pits performed on the site, specifically in the rain garden areas and the detention basin, just to verify the groundwater is at 36 and not deeper or slightly shallower. And obviously, between July 5th and today, we have not been able to complete those test pits. What we're asking for the commission to consider is making that a condition of approval to complete those test pits in a timely fashion following this particular meeting. And that information will then be submitted back to the town engineer, to your town wetlands agent, as well as the town's consultant to verify those findings. We don't anticipate any significant changes related to the existing stormwater system as it is shown on the plans that you are reviewing this evening. We have added or will add under drains to the rain gardens as well as the stormwater basins to make sure that they do drain after each rain event. Makes sense, right? We don't want to have standing water in either one of those that could affect the water quality volume and or detention volume. So those will be added to the plans as part of those revisions. I think it's important to note that any of the revisions that will be made based on the soil test pits will be minor in nature. We do not anticipate the need to increase the size of the basins, meaning expanding the width of the basins. That would cause additional impacts to the upland review area. I think that's important to note for this commission. Those minor modifications will be basically plan notes within the existing footprint of those basins, as well as maybe an under drain detail and an actual location of where the under drain would be constructed inside the basin. There is no anticipation of having to do any modifications on the exterior or the outside of the basins. So I want to make sure that's clear for the commission. In addition, there was some comments related to the engineering report. We have provided responses to each one of those 5 comments. I think one of the important one was, we are showing a diversion or a change in the watersheds on the particular site. As this commission is aware, there are flooding concerns on Route 63, specifically down by the Burger King area. To help alleviate those conditions, this project is over-detaining or changing watersheds and detaining more watershed than we have to help reduce those peak discharges to the area downstream of the site. And I think it's important for the commission to understand is that we're actually reducing the peak rates of discharge that's getting there now. So it should have an improvement on those flooding conditions that have been exhibited in that particular area of Route 63. There was also a comment raised related to this sizing of the existing pipe within Pondview Drive, whether it was sized appropriately to handle the water from this particular site, as this commission, or some of these commissioners may have been part of the original 2007 review of the Pondview Estates. This particular part of the site was phase 3 on that site, was never built, but was approved. When that was designed, the Pondview stormwater basin that's located basically across from the Carvel was designed to handle and take the water from phase 3, which is this actually particular project site. And at that time, the pipe that actually leads down Pondview Drive to the basin was sized appropriately for the 10-year storm to handle that water going down to the basin. So I wanted to make sure that was clear for the commission too, that the basin was sized correctly to handle this flow from our site. And that is, I think, it for the comment responses that we had. If there's any questions from the commission, we'd be happy to answer them now, or we could wait until after Lantec has provided their testimony this evening.
The problem is we just received this information 5 minutes ago, so it's going to take a minute.
Sure, certainly.
Any questions from the commission?
Yeah, I have one. So the first point that you brought up, and forgive me again, we saw these responses just a couple
Sure,
of minutes
absolutely.
ago. So you said initially when you did the perk testing there, you found the seasonal groundwater level was at 36 inches below surface level?
Correct.
And if you're going to do additional perks in those areas?
We're going to do additional testing,
So
correct.
what will change if there's a variation in that 36 inch? Was it, you said it was under the rain garden drainage?
Yeah, so in the rain gardens, right, you don't want to have a high groundwater table in your rain gardens. Otherwise, you could have standing water in the rain gardens, and then you're not getting the water quality volume that you want. If you have standing water there, then as the stormwater comes in, water goes out, you're not really getting that water quality volume.
Right.
So really, to address the issue, even if we find that the groundwater is at 36 inches or even deeper, we're still going to put under drains in. Those aren't shown on the plans now. We're asking the commission to approve the plans as they are today with the conditions of adding those under drains so that they properly drain between storm events.
So whether or not you find that 36-inch groundwater level there's a variation in that, it's not going to change what you're...
It doesn't change the physical ability for the water quality basin, size of the basin, the depth of the basin. It basically adds an under drain, so it drains out. So if there's any groundwater coming in, if we have those high rain events that we had just before the site walk, and there's a, even higher seasonally groundwater table than normal, that'll all drain out through those under drains. And that way the basins are then free to allow for water quality volume on that next storm event.
Okay. And not in particular to this project, but in your professional opinion, I'm just doing this for my own
Sure.
knowledge here. So those tests were done in, say, what was it, December, January this past?
I
winter?
believe they were done during the,
Okay.
winter. Yep.
So your cold water, nothing, cold weather, and the ground wasn't frozen, and
No.
it rained
No,
exponentially this winter. So the difference in the testing this past winter, how did it affect currently right now? We haven't had that much rain this summer. It's been very hot.
So what you may find now, say July, when the test pits are early August, whenever they're completed, you're going to find maybe an active groundwater table that's probably lower than what was observed in the winter. However, what we look for is modeling in the soils, because the soils tell us where the seasonal high groundwater table is. So what you'll find the depth of modeling in the soil. And those are the red concentrations and the gray concentrations, the red and gray colors in your soil. And as soil scientists and engineers, that's what we look for in a test pit. It doesn't have to have an active flowing groundwater table to determine where that seasonal high water table is.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Question for you.
Absolutely.
You said you don't anticipate any major changes. What, in your opinion, would be a major change that would cause this plan to go awry?
So a major change would be if we had to increase the size of the basin than what's shown on your plans
Based on
today.
the modeling you were just explaining?
Yes, and we're going to be able to, obviously, we're going to be able to accommodate that by using the under drains. So and that's why it was important. If there was a major change, because all of a sudden you realize that the stormwater system was going to be smaller than what was required, then you may have to increase the width, right? And you're approving right now, if you do approve this evening, you're approving a certain disturbance within an upper review area that shows stormwater basins. What we're saying is that if we have to make a change, which right now I'm telling you is going to be under drains, interior of the basin, nothing on the exterior of the basin, that is what I consider minor. A major change would be something with the basins. And if for some reason, and again, we do not anticipate this, but if there was some scenario where we had to change something, we'd have to come back before you to change that. If we had to expand the basin into the review area, the encroachment. But that's not anticipated for this particular project.
Okay, thank you.
I said this last meeting, but I'll say it again, just to drive the point home. I really do appreciate it. It said there was a 7.5 additional acres worth of capture that was in the oversized detention basin on the north side of it.
Yes.
It looked very good.
That should help. It's definitely going to help the issues that you're seeing down gradient.
That's off-site captured, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any other questions from the commission? People that we can hear from the third party?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Andy Sumalides. I'm a principal and professional engineer with Land Tech out of Westport. We are a surveying, environmental, and site civil engineering firm. But for this particular project, we only looked at it from a site civil stormwater perspective and not from an environmental perspective. I just want to be clear on that. We didn't look at wetland impacts or any of that nature. We looked at it purely from a stormwater calculation perspective. And the three criteria really are water quality, stormwater attenuation, and really the 100-year storm and emergency outlet sizing. So those were the three main criteria. And the guidance really is the 2004 Water Quality Manual, Connecticut Water Quality Manual. This project was designed and submitted prior to, you folks may be aware, there's a new manual that just became live in March, the 2024 manual. We did also do a look ahead of that, right? But we didn't specifically look at the 24 manual. We looked at the 2004 manual because that was the criteria based on this design. But they are very similar in nature, the two manuals. So just to run through the comments quickly, for the first comment in terms of additional soil testing, and I'm hearing why do we even need to do new soil testing if we can modify these basins regardless? Well, if we do find that the water table is lower, what we always like to do is promote infiltration, right? So in this stormwater method, there is no real infiltration, right? What we're doing is drawing down the groundwater. We're still getting the water quality treatment, but we're not really infiltrating. So when we can and promote infiltration, we look to do that. So that's the idea. If we find better results in these test holes, we can then modify design. In their stormwater calculations, they didn't take credit for any infiltration. So sometimes when we do these reviews, we have folks that don't have the proper separating distance for modeling or ledge, and they're still trying to plug in an infiltration number. So the computations here didn't count for any infiltration. So we were off to a good start there in our review. But what we look to is try and promote infiltration. So that's the idea of doing this additional testing. Item number 2, quickly, again, these basins can be modified. So what we looked at was recommendations we made was either adding a liner or under drains to these basins to make sure they had the full capacity. So that was the comment for number 2, which we were talking about, and understanding where that groundwater table is helps us understand what type of designs. You could do designs with wet ponds as well, and have a wet bottom. So there are designs in the manual that allow for a wet bottom and can still get the water quality treatment and the such. And these ponds are designed to be either or. Right, so these stormwater detention basins, you come in with a sediment forebay that does your pre-treatment, then you have the larger holding pond in the middle, and then what they did was do another micro pool at the outlet end. So it does go through a nice treatment train for water quality, and that could be designed both ways, either dry or wet. And that's kind of what our comment was, is it going to be dry or wet, or what's the, and that's what the additional soil testing also will allow us to know, what type of basins these are. Item number 3 was just a clarity thing in terms of looking back and forth on the plans. Number 4, again, that goes back to the infiltration and having that separation. If these are going to be infiltration basins or are these going to be wet basins. And that's what we were looking at for number 4. In terms of the engineering design, our first comment there was for the watersheds. So we weren't privy to all the history. So what happened was we issued this letter on Monday. We got a Zoom call with staff and the applicant and got some additional background on some of the history of how this was a Phase 3 and previously approved subdivision, and how Pondview Drive already accounted for this runoff to be piped that way. So that's a combination of comment number 1 and comment number 4. We were concerned that, yes, the commission's concern was the continuous flooding of Route 63 in the vicinity of Burger King. We were concerned that we're not flooding out somewhere else, right? That there was capacity for this water that we're now diverting to a different watershed, or it's still the same watershed, but routed through a different area, getting to that watershed, that we weren't having an impact on the Pondview Estates and their drainage system. So there was material provided here by the applicant that states, showing the history of the 2007 subdivision. In the 2007 subdivision, you're getting a much better plan here today in terms of water quality, stormwater attenuation, and the such, because that 2007 approval had nothing. It basically had, you're catching the road infrastructure with catch basins and pipes, and you're just dumping them into, it was, a good portion was actually dumped right into the intermittent water course. So what you're getting is a much better system, I would say, with this new proposal. Obviously, 2007 and today are much different standards, but it is a much better design from that 2007 approval also. So that was really number one and number 4, I would say. We were concerned about that, and they provided documentation. Just to piggyback that a little bit, so based on their calculations, and I think with those minor tweaks that Mr. Sanford was talking about earlier, we feel, based on their calculations, they'll be able to do these reductions of storm events with these new improvements. And you're getting about a 10% reduction just from pre and post, plus another roughly 10% with this diversion that we're talking about, taking a good chunk of this watershed of this development and routing it through Pondview Drive and their detention basin. So you're looking at about a 15 to 20% reduction of peak flow going towards this Route 63, which I think you folks were concerned about, that intersection and that flooding there. So those are kind of some rough numbers. Number 2, there was a slight discrepancy of the pre and post watershed. When you're talking about this big of areas, 0.35 acres, when you plug that in, it's not going to really move the needle, but we like to see the pre watershed area match the post watershed area, so they just need to clean that up and provide that calc. Number 3 kind of goes back to the soil testing and wet ponds, dry ponds, what are we doing here? And we got more clarity from the Zoom call and what the intent there was. And then the last one was the emergency outlet. You do have some decent flows that overtop on the 100-year storm. Our first concern is making sure they don't overtop the berm, and it's all contained within that stormwater basin, which they proved through their calculations. But secondly, and what this comment is about, is the sizing of the riprap outlet. So when these ponds fill up, there's a structure that drains it out for the low storm events, but on the 100-year storm, it's gonna overtop the berm in a 10-foot section with some riprap. We wanted to make sure that riprap sizing was appropriate, and they provided those calcs to confirm that. So, our concern there is really, you're gonna wash out the top of these basins and create a channel there and erosion and those sort of things. So that was the third criteria that I mentioned early on about the 100-year sizing of these, and they provided these calcs to us, and they looked appropriate. I'm happy to answer any questions.
On the water table, so if you do soil test and it's at a foot, what's the difference if it's at 12 inches, 24, 36, or 48?
If it's a foot down from the existing grade?
Yeah. Obviously, this ain't gonna work.
So a foot down, yes, there'll be a challenge there, right? To
Right.
drain that pond and keep that groundwater level down.
Right.
Even with a liner with a foot down from existing grade, that's a tough situation, yes. That's probably something where they have to take a harder look at this and look at what's gonna happen here, right? So what we typically would do in those situations when you have something like that, we go to mechanical systems. So we go to these big concrete chambers that are buried underground, that you attenuate the flow out and meter it out, and you do some type of stormwater hydrodynamic separator, which is a manhole structure that's got a swirl chamber in it, and now you're treating the water quality flow. So it's a big change probably if you're hitting it 12 inches down. If you're 36, so if you're within, that range, plus or minus 6 inches, it's not going to change this design. But you're talking 12 inches down, yeah, you're taking a harder look at this and probably coming up with a different design in that instance.
Probably even to 2 feet, correct? I mean, because you're trying to drain it off.
Yeah, you'd
not
have to
gonna
look
work.
at, yeah, you have to look at that and regroup. But yeah, the 1 foot down, it's probably some type of, you'd have to rethink that from an engineering standpoint.
The only
But
thing
you can design something.
Okay. The only thing I was a little unclear of, we've had several meetings on this. I thought from town engineering that pond on Pondview Drive was already undersized and already had a flooding condition there. And they were diverting the water away from that pond. When we had there was talks there that they weren't gonna add anything to that pond on Pondview. Any recollection, Paul, or no?
Mr. Chairman, we discussed this at the Zoom meeting with Mr. Simulmitis and the applicant, and, and I confirmed with Bob Grandpree from Highway, they've had no problems with that pond in the last 20, 25 years. And I think it's sufficiently sized to handle the slight increase or slight diversion from this subdivision as planned, back in the original Highview Estates Phase 3, and it's going to help Main Street. It all ends up in, it's a minor diversion, it all ends up in Steel Brook anyway. Whether it gets through, behind Burger King or down the other way behind G Burgers. So it's still in the same watershed. It should help the Main Street at the 73 intersection by Burger King.
Any other questions?
Yeah. From the beginning, I was concerned about the water runoff and everything. You're a third-party review, and you looked at this, thoroughly. But based on what you see, do you think they did a good job? Are you comfortable what they did? Or there is something that we got to be concerned about it?
If there was something that they didn't do a good job on, they would have heard about that on Monday, way before this hearing, and we would have talked about that. So what the conversation was on Monday was there's tweaks that they need to make, that we recommend they make. I think I saw quickly in the conditions of, if you guys were to approve it, a condition should be that they need to meet all the requirements in our letter. If they can meet those things, then yes, this design.
So the bottom line, you're comfortable
Yes.
the way it's designed?
Yes, I wouldn't recommend conditions of approval if it was something that's, we've notoriously always done conditions of approval on soil testing. When you do soil testing on such large projects, you don't know where things are gonna end up, early on in a design. So you go out there and do some historic testing, and then notoriously you need to go back again to, pinpoint where your actual stormwater systems are and do additional testing. It's not uncommon on a project like this. So, yeah, I do feel comfortable. And if the testing comes back and it's 12 inches, they need to fix that. They need to come up with a solution. And if it's something that encroaches further into the wetlands, or it's something, it needs to come back before this commission. If it's a major redesign like we talked about, putting an under drain within an existing basin is not a major, change. Tweaking some things, changing some, inverts on the outlet control structures. The structures are already there. Those aren't major changes. But like if they run into something like that, yeah, it's a major change. Then you come back and present that to you guys.
Paul, you're comfortable with this?
I am,
You are?
Commissioner, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you said that you weren't asked about the wetland impacts. I did specifically ask of that, but did you notice anything with the part that you did do, that you were asked to do? Notice anything that would adversely affect the wetlands with the stormwater issues?
So I'm not a professional wetland scientist. We do have some on staff, but they were asked not to look at it from that perspective. I did not look at it. The only thing that I would say is that I was concerned about potentially from a stormwater perspective was the 100-year storm outlet protection sizing and possible erosion and sediment and that getting into the wetlands from that aspect. But other than that, no, we didn't really take a hard look at, evaluating the functions of these wetlands. There's just a lot of work that goes into determining the function and values of wetlands and then, those impacts.
Right. Because that was my concern, that's why I did ask the question, so it didn't make it to you, obviously. but my concern was the stormwater, heavy storms getting out of these basins and into the wetlands and the sediment and
Right.
whatnot, so.
So we did look at that from the 100-year storm events, yeah.
Any other questions? Now, will you be there to witness these soil testing, or you're involved in that?
Typically not, no.
Oh, if the third party review doesn't get involved in that?
Typically not, but if you guys want to make that a condition, but we typically do not get involved in witnessing soil testing.
What they do, they submit their findings to Lantec, yes.
Any other questions from the commission?
I think we're good.
Take us on.
Yeah. Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, before you do that, just for the record, there is no members of the public because this is a public hearing. Normally, you ask anybody from the public. But just the record shows that there is no members of the public available, yes. Is there anybody online?
There's none online anyway.
Anyway, they cannot talk.
No.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move that, close the public hearing for application 2024-7 of Newport Realty Group LLC.
Motion made and second. Any questions or discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? For regular meeting. 5, public participation. 6, action on the minutes. A, regular meeting, June 13th, 2024. Did everybody receive the minutes of?
Yes.
Here are basically the motion sheets that, these are the motions that you made. We didn't have the details meeting minutes.
Is this temporary, the minutes, the way they go?
For now, we don't have a minute secretary. I don't know how long it will take that the town hires somebody.
Question through the chair, why don't we have a minutes secretary?
I'm sorry?
Why don't we have a minutes secretary? Can't find somebody?
Our secretary moved to building
Understood.
department, and the town decided for 2 months they are not going to hire anybody.
Do we have money in the budget?
Yes, that position is.
So why aren't we actively filling this?
I
We
don't
obviously
have
need
the
it.
answer. That's a question for the management, not for me.
I mean, we need a secretary, we need minutes. I'm totally against this call sheet or whatever you call it. So I'll go on record as stating I don't like it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, you can contact the town regarding the secretary issue.
No questions on the minutes they've received? Want to make that a
I
motion?
make a motion, we approve the regular minutes of the meeting of June 13, 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. 7, pending applications. A, application 2024-7 of Newport Realty Group LLC for the construction of Turnberry Estates on a 34-unit active adult community on 24.6 acre parcel to be located off Pondview Drive, Watertown.
Mr. Chairman, the last meeting you asked me to draft a motion for you, and I did it. I presented to you. If you want to go through that. We also emailed it to you today.
Not as of 5 o'clock, I don't think.
No, Carol
I left.
emailed
I'm sorry?
before 4 o'clock.
You
Yes,
did?
I
Yes,
sent an
Carol emailed to
email.
everybody.
Or-
Yes.
Yes. And Musa passed them out to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't get it. Yeah.
But it was late.
Right. Yeah, I think we read it. We read it first.
you want to review it, or you want to read it? Please feel free to make changes if you feel.
Does this motion include anything that we discussed 20 minutes ago about that latest perk test?
No.
No, at the last, item number 20, if you read, the applicant's engineer has to respond to all the comments that the third-party reviewer mentioned in his letter.
Comply, it says comply with all the comments?
Yes.
Okay. Should that be written a little bit more specific?
Right.
You can add?
Right.
Right.
I think you should put some language here, they gotta come back, if there's major changes, which
Well, let's make
could
it
happen.
together.
Well,
You gotta specify.
right.
No, I asked that question that
So
if the
it
footprint
comes back to
of
the
the,
commission. It comes back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I asked him that those proposed changes, if there is any, is it going to change the footprint of the development? The answer was no. Whatever changes will be within the existing footprint that they show on the plan, but in case if they have to go within the regulated area more than what is included in this, then they have to come back here for modification of their permit.
So should there be a boundary on that? Because I guess the
Yeah.
only thing in question was verifying the 36-inch high
Excuse
ground
me,
level.
guys, can you
Sure.
turn your mics on so
They
we
don't
can hear
turn
a
on.
little better?
No,
Thank you,
it wouldn't turn on a minute ago.
Sorry.
thank you.
Is there, I lost my train of thought here.
36
Should there be a boundary level or a limit set as far as if the high groundwater level table changes more than a certain number of inches, that it needs to be reported or changed? Or-
I think so.
But
Right,
if
but
they-
we would have,
If they find that
Size of-
they're giving that to the third-party reviewer, and then he will review and comment it back to us. If there is no changes to the
Right.
footprint, then if the
Right.
town engineer and myself, we are satisfied with it, and the third-party reviewer, then that will be the end of it. If they propose any additional regulated activities, they have to come back to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
all this other stuff is normal.
There is one clarification that I want to make. The first paragraph, if you see the last line, it is like a blank area, the date, or revision date. I left it intentionally blank because once they revise those plans and bring it to me, I will use that date on it. The one that they respond to all the comments from lab.
Okay.
It's a lot to go through this in the last minute, but on page 4, sentence 18, Mylar spelled incorrectly. Very minor, but again, to read this whole thing in 5 or 10 minutes is impossible.
On page 4,
Page 4,
Page 4,
sentence
number
18.
Mylar, just spelled out.
Final filing Mylar,
Type.
Oh,
MILR.
okay, okay. Thank you.
But what? That's the question.
Commission, the
It should be-
commission, add the commission on there too. We should be involved.
So, right, so the final site development plan shall comply with all current and future comments of the, and comments and recommendations contained in the, or, we gotta-
Can we do that with the public hearing closed?
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Come forward then.
So, because that was the stipulation last month, was if we're gonna push this through like this, they
Yeah.
were gonna comply with every single thing that
Right.
was found.
Perfect.
Right,
But we gotta state that.
Well,
This
the-
is just saying comply with the comments
Right.
that are current.
right.
Nothing about what's coming or findings from
No.
what's coming up, right? So how do you wanna word that?
Letter dated July 5, 2024, and future comments or later comments.
Okay, that'll make it simple.
That will cover?
Yeah,
Or,
right.
or requirements, right? Or there's something else should be added there.
Comments and recommendations. So it would say, final site development plan shall comply with all comments and recommendations contained in the Land Tech consultant letter dated July 5th, 2024, and future revisions or
And future comments.
future comments and recommendations to the satisfaction of.
You gotta change it, yeah. You got contained in the land tech consultant letter.
Yeah, I think that would solve it.
Mr. Secretary, do you want to read the draft?
Sure. All right, so draft motion for approval. Excuse me. Whereas the Watertown Conservation Commission Inland Wetland Agency has received an application from Newport Realty Group LLC for construction of a 34, so there's a 34-unit age-restricted housing development, associated new roadways, and on-site storm drainage systems as shown on a site development plan titled Plants prepared by True Plants, it says, or Plants? What?
Plan.
It says Plants, okay. Get rid of that. So site development plan titled Plans prepared for Turnberry Estates and age-restricted housing development, ARHB, Pondview Drive, Watertown, Connecticut, sheets C1, B1, S1 through S3, G1 through G3, W1, and D1 through D5, dated March 6, 2024, with a last revision date to be determined, prepared by Kratzert, Jones, and Associates. Whereas the commission determined that the proposed regulated activities constitute a significant activity per section 2.1.DD inland wetland and watercourse regulations of the town of Watertown. Whereas the commission has evaluated the application according to the standards and criteria for a decision per section 10.2 of the regulations in carrying out the purposes and policies of section 22A through 26 to, or 22A-26 to 22A-45 of the Connecticut General Statutes, including matters related to regulating, licensing, and enforcing of the provisions thereof. Whereas the agency has convened meetings and public hearings on March 14th, 2024, April 11th, 2024, May 9th, 2024, June 13th, 2024, and July 11th, 2024. Whereas the agency has held a site walk on April 6th, 2024. Whereas the agency has hired Land Tech Consultants as an independent third party to review the application and report to the agency. Whereas the agency has carefully considered all the evidence and testimony received at the duly public at the duly called public hearings and meetings from the staff and Land Tech consultants and the applicant professional team. Whereas the agency recognizes that inland wetland agencies and watercourses of the state of Connecticut and the town of Watertown are indispensable, irreplaceable, and a fragile natural resource. Whereas the agency recognizes pursuant to section 1.1 of the inland wetland and watercourse regulations, the preservation and protection of the wetland and watercourses from random, unnecessary, undesirable, and unregulated uses, disturbance, or destruction is in the public interest and is essential to the health, wealth, and safety of the citizens of the state. Now therefore be it resolved that the Watertown Conservation Commission Inland Wetland Agency approves application number 2024-7 submitted by Newport Realty Group LLC with the following conditions and modifications. 1, the permittee shall notify the wetland enforcement officer in writing at least 3 business days prior to the commencement of work on site and upon its completion. 2, if the approved activities are not initiated on or before July 11th, 2029, said activities shall cease, and if not previously revoked or specifically renewed or extended, this permit shall be null and void. Any request to renew or extend the expiration date of the permit should be filed in accordance with Section 11 of the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Regulations of the Town of Watertown. Expired permits may not be renewed, and the Wetland Agency may require a new application for regulated activities. 3, all work and all regulated activities conducted pursuant to this approval shall be consistent with the terms and conditions of this permit. Any structures, excavation, fill, obstructions, encroachment, or regulated activities not specifically identified and approved herein shall constitute a violation of this permit and may result in its modification, suspension, or revocation. 4, this permit is not transferable without the written consent of the Conservation Commission Inland Wetland Agency. 5, in evaluating this application, the Wetland Agency has relied on information provided by the applicant. If such information is subsequently proved to be false, incomplete, or misleading, this permit may be modified, suspended, or revoked, and the permittee may be subject to any other remedies or penalties provided by law. 6, the permittee shall employ management practices consistent with the terms and conditions of this permit to control storm water discharges and to prevent erosion and sedimentation and to otherwise prevent pollution of wetlands and watercourses. The permittee shall immediately inform the agency of any problems involving wetlands or watercourses that have developed during or that are caused by the approved work. 7, no equipment or material, including without limitation, fill, construction materials, or debris shall be deposited, placed, or stored in any wetland or watercourse on or off site unless specifically approved by this permit. 8, this permit is subject to and does not derogate any rights of or powers of the town of Watertown, conveys no property rights or exclusive privileges, and is subject to all public and private rights and to all applicable federal, state, and local laws. In conducting and maintaining any activities approved herein, the permittee may not cause pollution, impairment, or destruction of the inland wetlands and watercourses of the town of Watertown. 9, if the activity approved by the inland wetlands permit also involves activity or a project that requires federal approval, state approval, zoning or subdivision approval, special permit, variance, or special exception, no work pursuant to the wetlands permit may begin until such approvals are obtained. 10, the permittee shall maintain sediment and erosion controls at the site in such an operable condition as to prevent the pollution of wetlands and watercourses. Said controls are to be inspected by the permittee for deficiencies at least once per week and immediately after rains. The permittee shall correct any such deficiencies within 24 hours of said deficiency being found. The permittee shall maintain such controls until all areas of disturbed soils at the site are stabilized. 11, a wetland performance bond shall be posted by the applicant for Turnberry Estates. The bond estimate shall be provided by the applicant to the Department of Public Works, which shall include the following: soil erosion and sediment control measures, site stabilization, including regrading and planting of disturbed areas on and off-site. The applicant shall furnish to the town a bond with proper surety in the form of and amount satisfactory to the administrator for land use, director of public works, and town attorney before any activity is initiated on site. 12, a pre-construction meeting shall be held with the agency staff prior to any on-site activity. A 24-hour name, address, and telephone number must be provided by site construction manager, and a written notification is required 3 business days prior to any on-site activity. 13, no topsoil or loam shall be removed from the project site until all road works, construction of on-site drainage systems, and all regulated activities associated with the development is completed, unless after a written request from the applicant and written permission is granted jointly by the Director of Department of Public Works, Wetland Enforcement Officer, and Administrator for Land Use. Topsoil shall be evenly distributed on all disturbed areas at a minimum of 5 inches. 14, there shall be no other on-site disturbance except what is proposed by the final plans and approved by the commission within the limits of clearing and regulated areas. 15, the applicant must minimize the amount of soil disturbance on site at any one time. A narrative construction phasing plan shall be submitted to wetland officer and town engineer for the review and approval. Prior to any on-site activity, all soil erosion and sediment control measures for the project phase, which is ready for construction, shall be in place and inspected by the site manager. Prior to 16, prior to release of the posted bond, all disturbed areas shall have turf vigorously established and mowed at least once. 17, due to steep topography of the site, temporary sediment traps must be constructed up gradient of the wetlands watercourses prior to any land disturbance and prior to any construction of the water quality basins to protect the wetlands and watercourses located on and off-site. Locations and number of sediment traps are to be determined as site conditions warrant. 18, final filing Mylar of the of the site development plan must be signed and dated by the soil scientist and surveyor, and the wetland permit printed on the Mylar. 19, prior to the commencement of vegetation removal within regulated areas, disturbance limits shall be staked by applicant surveyor and demarcated with silt fence. 20, final site development plan shall comply with all comments and recommendations contained in the Land Tech consultant letter dated July 5th, 2024, and future comments and recommendations of Land Tech to the satisfaction of Land Tech consultant, town engineer, and wetlands officer. And us, and the Wetlands Commission.
This is a motion and somebody should second it, then you can have a discussion if you want.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and second. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, I had something, but it's hard when you're reading it out loud and trying to take notes at the same time. I think it was in 15.
Excuse me, on the motion, do we have that approved with conditions? We have that in there?
Yeah, there's a change to item 20 in there that we
Okay.
made.
Yeah.
Right. Is it, no one else inspects the site manager inspects their own work, so the fox checks the hen house?
No, we do too.
Well, it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
It says it shall be in place and inspected by the site manager.
But
I
they have
thought-
to do that, yes, and then we will do it in
Right.
different phases, yes.
But I thought
That's a
that
part of
seems
our job, we
different.
don't have to
Right.
write it, yes.
Okay,
Paul and I always do.
okay. I thought it used to be written in there somewhere. There was something else. I don't remember where. Anyone else have anything? While I'm looking.
You good?
There was something else on it, it wasn't major.
Well, motion has been made and approved and seconded, so all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Thank you very much.
7B, application 2024-11 of C&S Masonry and Paving for the construction of a 10,000 square foot and 2,500 square foot industrial building, associated parking, driveway, and stormwater controls at 1490 Echo Lake Road, Watertown.
Mr. Chairman, we received a letter from the applicant's attorney. They want to withdraw their application, take one and pass the others.
The same letter we got in the email the other day?
It's a different, it's signatures and everything. Please read that.
Can I read it? Letter from Secor, Cassidy, and McPartland, attorneys at law, to Watertown Inland Wetlands Agency, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut. Attention Musa Raffi, regarding application number 2024-11, CNS Masonry and Paving for construction of a 10,000 square foot and 24,000 square foot industrial buildings, associated parking, driveway, and stormwater controls located at 1420 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut. Dear Mr. Raffi, excuse me. Dear Mr. Raffi and agency members, the undersigned attorney for the applicant hereby withdraws its application regarding the above referenced matter. Please contact me with any questions. Thank you. Sincerely, James R. Strub. Yes, it's different. Yeah.
It appears they're withdrawing. Any indication why?
I think because the commission asked some information about the contamination and what kind of soil is there, and they have to do some research, they needed more time.
Yeah, the other letter that we got was requesting that we grant or waive the reapplication
Right.
fee, and then
Yeah.
it did state
Yes.
why they wanted to pull it.
So this supersedes it.
Why is there two different letters?
Yeah.
This is the gold we go by.
That was an email, that's in your packet if you want to look.
That's this one here. So this one here is email. It's an email to Musa Raffi from Jim Strub. It says, hello Musa, as discussed, please do not notice the public hearing for above application. We will formally withdraw the application as we research the questions asked by the commission. I am hopeful the commission will waive the next application fee.
That was June
Please
20th.
confirm, James Strupp, what?
That was June 20th.
Sorry, it was a long time ago.
June 20th. Right.
June 21st.
Right, so they must have, maybe they did some research and
Yeah, but they're asking to
just-
withdraw, not for
they're not asking to
consideration.
waive.
No.
Withdraw.
No, they are asking to withdraw and also waive the application fee.
Not in the-
Not here.
Not the
No.
second letter.
That's
Second
a
letter,
matter-
no.
That is also a part of the record.
I don't know.
Either way, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Denied.
Drew it, so.
I would deny it.
have anything to do with the application.
I would deny that part of it.
Okay, then you should,
So-
when you make the motion, then you should mention that. Right. Yes.
Motion to accept the letter?
Accept the letter to withdraw, but,
And deny the
yes.
reapplication.
So I make a motion to accept the letter dated July 8th, 2024 to the Inland Wetland Agency to withdraw application 2024-11.
Second.
And deny the application fee or?
We'll just accept the letter. We can add that.
And deny the request for waiving of application fee.
There is no request
That's
for,
not in here.
he's not requesting, he said, I'm hopeful, that's not a
Yeah, but
request.
this, the letter he sent us is July 8th, it supersedes everything. We read that in the record, let's go with that and deal with it when it happens.
I agree.
I agree. Okay, don't worry about that.
I think they know our
Motion made,
intentions.
seconded.
Carol, clear in the motion?
No, now, when they bring their application, what should I do? Should I charge them the fee?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please mention that you didn't,
charge him the fee.
didn't
mentioned.
accept their request to waive the fee.
There is
He
no
didn't make
request. They're
Nothing
hopeful. I'm hopeful I win the lottery. It's not a request.
But he didn't, this is the one he gave us. This is what
Well,
we read
this
in
is
the-
in our, this was in our
We don't have to
packet.
belabor it, let's go with it.
You really think that you get in your packet that is public record,
Yeah.
and that's a part of the record for this application?
Then can you just add that to the
It
motion?
is-
Right,
because-
so add to the
because-
motion that.
Yeah, when you say that we deny that
This-
request, then
Right.
it will be easy for me to tell
Right.
that, no,
So
you
this-
have to pay the application fee.
And then can you just
So-
read the whole motion over again, please?
So I revise this motion. So I make a motion that we accept the letter dated July 28th, 2024, addressed to, or July 8th, 2024, addressed to the Watertown Wetlands Agency to withdraw application 2024-11 and deny their previous request to waive a future fee.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries. Thank you. New applications, none. 9, old
Mr. Chairman, can you please add an item under this application? Not under application, but under new business. There is a letter from the town engineer regarding cleaning of some detention ponds. If you want to put that as an item on the agenda, that we can have a discussion on it.
I don't have anything on, what is it?
Under new business,
Right, I
I
got
will give you the letter.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So make a motion to add item 10, new business, letter from town engineer regarding detention basin cleaning.
Yes.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any questions on the motion or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries.
Yeah.
Paul, we're not ready yet.
Not ready yet.
Yeah.
All right, so there's a letter here from,
No, the executive session.
Yeah.
oh, okay, all right, yeah, sorry, I thought we,
The time is,
We're supposed to go to executive session right now.
Yeah, right.
7:30.
it's
so we are
7:34.
talking about the other room,
Right.
Yes.
yeah.
7:38, I think.
Carol, let's, the record shows that the commission is going into executive session at 7:34.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay, somebody should, for the record, mention that what time you came back to the meeting from the executive session.
For the record, we're reconvening the meeting at 7:51.
New business 10. Letter from the town engineer requiring.
Did you pass this to everybody?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could you turn your mics on, guys? Sorry.
Paul turned them all off.
I received this letter, Mr. Chairman. I leave it to you to see what you want to decide on this, because in future there will be more. Paul.
Right, correct.
And
yeah.
if you want to explain what the situation is and what you are exactly looking for.
Well, Musa, this is just, I forgot what I wrote, the two basins that they're just working on.
You need a copy?
Yeah, just for my own record. Yeah, we put out to bid a project to do 11 basins that most of them haven't been touched since they've been installed. I know one's up in Mount Fair. There's two in Mount Fair, and anyway, but it's more associated primarily with Turkey Brook, although the ones in Mount Fair go to Steel Brook. But, because of the flooding issues with both, watersheds, we're trying to be Jerry Lukowski, my new Public Works Director, is trying to be proactive with maintenance. And we put this contract out, and Complete LLC was the low bidder for $300,000. It's a fair sum because there's a lot of trees, and just getting to some of these basins behind people's houses is not easy. And we just wanted to know that they are going to be starting the first two basins, one's on Mount Fair and the one on Beach Avenue, that takes drainage from Mount Fair. Those two go to Steel Brook, as I might previously mentioned. But this is something Public Works are trying to be proactive, do this maintenance, and Highway just can't. They do their work, and they do a great job, and they have done some basin cleaning, but this is something that needs tree clearing and, big machines, and it's going to be quite an effort, but it's something I want to put the commission on notice. We're going to be starting this, and, maybe next week, one on Mount Fair specifically, maybe starting by Complete, or at least clearing the area to get down to the basin. It's like 20 feet below the backyard of these two homes on Mount Fair. It's not easy to get to, but they're going to be starting this. So just wanted to make the commission aware of all this.
I thought the town purchased an excavator to clean that.
That was a temporary thing, Mr. Chairman, the one we used
The
on the
excavator
Pearl
was
Harbor.
temporary, or no?
The so-called 60-foot stick, not the excavator, but the.
No, we did buy our own track excavator. I thought was for clearing ponds.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of the vac truck which got lost, but.
Right,
Yeah, no.
that's nothing to do with it.
No.
That's what I thought that equipment was purchased for.
Maybe partially, but not
Right.
specific, there's
So
still.
the town's not gonna, the highway department's not gonna clean any of these ponds?
No, I
Oh.
said, no, they're still doing some, they did the
Okay.
one off behind John Trumbull and a couple other ones down, but yeah, no, they're just, for the guys, the personnel they have, and it's just, between road maintenance and structure repair and paving, they're doing some of their own paving, it's a lot going on, so. We needed some outside help, so that's why we put the contract out, which Complete got, so.
So this one here, 130 Mount Fair Drive, is that the one that's on the corner of East Street and Mount Fair Drive?
No, that's.
That's another one,
No,
right?
this is up near Pheasant Ridge.
Right, okay.
Up grading.
And 105 Beach Avenue,
That's all the way tucked in the back.
Yeah, that's kind of mid-block between,
well, I grew up at 121 Beach Avenue, so I know.
okay, the area, yeah. Yeah, there's one behind
I've never
there.
seen it, it's all
Yeah,
woods.
there's one behind there that,
Trees growing.
Yeah.
yeah. it's,
All right, so we're good with that?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, how do you want to deal with it? Do you want to just make a motion to give them a blanket permit that whenever they want to clean the
Right, I
detention
assume
ponds?
you're going out, Moose, you're going out for inspections on this when they're cleaning? Are they putting up silt fence? Are they, I don't understand, who's watching this operation?
Paul.
Oh, so
No, we're
Paul's
gonna-
gonna
yeah,
report
we
back
are-
to,
Yes.
Paul is your staff member too.
right, so Paul's gonna report back to that land.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we're gonna make sure they got erosion controls in and they're doing what they're
Right.
supposed to do, so.
I just have a question. Paul, on Ice House Road, on the corner, I mean, there was a pieces of trees, rocks on the road. Where's all that water come from? Is that the one from Mount Fair Farm? Right on the
No,
corner.
that's from, up behind the housing, comes down from there. You're talking about
Right,
the
Mount
one
Fair
at,
Farm.
at Echo Lake? Yeah,
Yeah, right on the
Across the
corner of
Echo
Ice
Lake at
House
Ice House
Road.
Road.
right, yeah,
And
that
Echo
comes,
Lake. There was so much debris
I
coming
think
up.
some of that does come from the south end of Mount Fair, but it also
So
comes
there is a
from,
detention pond up there. That's the one that was
that's
never
another
cleaned?
one that's behind homes that hasn't been, well, I certainly haven't seen it. I don't know who else
Oh,
has
okay.
seen it in the last 20 years, but yeah. That's another one that we have to address, so. I know, we keep getting these storms, it's crazy. We had 4 storms in the last 2 weeks or something. It's just
North
crazy.
end of town got over 3 inches of rain in like 45 minutes the
I
other
know.
night.
It's fine.
So you'll keep us abreast every month, or?
I will,
in
yeah,
writing or
and I'll keep
pictures?
Moose, keep telling Moose what's going on,
Right.
so, in the interim between
So
meetings.
these are on town property?
Yes, open space or town.
So
yeah,
any
these are-
commission member can go and inspect them then?
Right,
We're not
correct.
in private property, right?
No,
So we can follow the construction trail?
right, yep,
We
absolutely.
don't need permission?
Nope.
Okay.
They all have access from town roads, too.
I'm gonna read this one up. All right. So, letter to Musa Rafi from Paul Benovich, dated July 9th, 2024, subject detention basin cleaning, 105 Beach Avenue and 130 Mount Fair Drive, Watertown. The Watertown Public Works Department wishes to inform the Conservation Commission and the Wetland Agency that Complete LLC was the low bidder for our Turkey Brook and Steel Brook Detention Basin Cleaning Project. The initial basins to be cleaned excuse me, are in the rear of 2 above-mentioned properties. Both basins are part of the Mount Fair Farm subdivision, which was approved back in the late 80s. These basins have not been maintained since they were installed. Complete LLC will cut the trees and the brush growing in the basins and excavate and place the accumulated sediment from the basins alongside the basin banks within the town open space parcels associated with each basin. These 2 basin outlet structures discharge into water courses which flow through various properties, eventually discharging into Steel Brook and south of Bauer Street. An additional 9 detention basins associated with the Turkey Brook Drainage Basin are the other structures to be cleaned as part of this project, located from Slade Street southerly to Pine Ridge Drive and Hilltop Road. These will be scheduled in the near future after the above 2 basins are cleaned. So, not that it matters for this, but, so, I'll make a motion to accept and file this letter.
Second.
Motion made second. Any questions on the motion?
And also, there is no requirement for any permitting or anything, they can go and do these things.
Has to be done.
Yeah, I want the record to be
Yeah.
clear, yes. It's
So-
basically like a blanket permit for them to go and clean this.
Paul, I just have a question on the specifics on the project. It says that the basins are supposed to be, they're gonna be dug out and place the accumulated sediment from the basins alongside the basin banks? The
Correct.
outside of the banks? Inside of the banks?
Outside, yeah.
Outside?
So they're actually making the banks wider in a
Okay.
sense, but there is room to do this on, instead of trucking things out, especially these 2 through someone's yard, it's gonna be a heck of a time getting the trees out of there.
No, I understand that part.
Yeah.
I just didn't know the location, and it wasn't too specific there. so-
Yeah, it's a kind of a shortcut, well, not, it's just a expedient thing so not have to truck, where do you truck something, sediment like that, it's just good. So it'll make sure it doesn't create any kind of runoff, there'll be silt.
It's not gonna expedite the need to clean it again, being right at the top of the basin walls, covering
Right.
riprap or anything.
Yeah, so,
So,
Are-
what
are-
if these, what?
Yeah.
No.
I'm just saying, in the future planning, like this Turnberry Estates, is there access to these retention ponds, or are we gonna go through the same thing?
No, there is access, just like the one up on Munson, you know, where
Right.
it's right there by the road.
So that's part of, we didn't see that on the plans, but that's in your
That's it, yeah,
requirement.
if there is, you look on there are roads going down, especially the upper one that's taking that additional
Yes.
6-7 acres from, Highgate, you know,
Yeah.
behind there, so.
Those
Yeah.
are private. They'll have to maintain them.
Yeah.
But there still is access to both, yeah, it's on the
Yeah,
plan.
that was discussed. There was something in the plans that said there.
Yeah, there's road, you should see there's a
So,
driveway down.
so if we have issues with detention ponds, so this one here, what if there's wetlands around it that they're going to disturb getting to them and cleaning them? Now we should be looking at something. Or do they all have access roads that are already approved, access roads that don't have any more disturbance?
I think one way to do it, at this moment, Paul is asking for those 2 detention
Right.
ponds.
Right.
You can say it's okay, he
Yeah.
can start doing that. And next time, when you have like 2, 3 of them ready, then write another letter and see if there is any wetlands activities mentioned that there is some.
I've been looking, the ones I've inspected all these, there are no wetland areas to go.
When these 2 are completed, we should have a site.
I don't know.
Right.
And see what
Yeah.
it's like.
So,
See how it looks
we
like.
could also, I think, if
He says that's
we
what he's gonna
could
charge.
start going and looking at all of them, and when they come time to be done, we've already looked at them and can
Right.
help expedite them.
Yeah,
You need a whole day.
No,
Well,
we
you-
can go,
You can provide that list, right?
Just
we're-
look-
yeah, no, I have the list,
So
and
can
I
you
have,
send
we
it-
actually
can you
have
send-
them.
Right, can you
We
send
had
that
a
out?
map for we had a pre-construction walk through all of these with contractors, and I have it on, you know, aerial, it shows everything, I can get that to you. So
Okay, so we
Did-
can,
Did you say
It's kind of sequence, you can just run from north to south. so.
is it 300,000 just for these 2 ponds?
No, for all the 11.
Oh,
All
okay.
11, yeah. I mean, some of them are like the size
I'll
of,
do it for half.
there's a few small ones like the size of this area out here, but there's a couple,
I don't know
you
the
know.
construction code.
There's some fair-sized basins,
I
and
don't-
there's trees growing, you know, 10, 12-inch trees growing out of
we
some
can
of them.
approve the.
30 years old.
Yeah, right.
Good, Ned? Yeah,
Okay,
good.
Paul, it's okay, at this time, they approve these 2,
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
then
what,
next time you write another letter
Right,
and say that.
it's gonna take them a
different
while.
locations.
Yes,
How
it'll
about-
take for next meeting, yeah. probably.
Right, how about for next meeting, get us a list of all of them, and then we can
No,
start.
like I said, I'll give you the
Have
list
a-
and I'll show you the location, the
Make
nice.
up a little presentation for us,
Yeah.
to look at them all, and
Yeah, certainly, yep.
So we
And
can start.
I'd be happy to go out if anyone wants to, you know, if you have, I know no one has time during the day, but, you know, whatever. If you do, so, yeah.
Right.
It's up to them.
There was a motion made and seconded, correct?
Okay, the motion should be like, the commission has no objection for the cleaning of these 2 ponds.
We can't approve a contract.
We're not approving any
No,
contract.
you have no objection,
All
basically.
right, read that in there again.
So I make a motion to approve the cleaning of the 2 mentioned detention basins at 105 Beach Avenue and 130 Mount Ferry Drive.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Thank you.
11, communications and bills. Thank you, note from Roseanne Demito to the Inland Wetlands Commission for flowers and gift card from the 12, reports from officers and committees, chairperson. I want to have the secretary read this into the minutes, just so, today I sent out a notice to the town engineer in the wetlands office about some complaints I received. I guess I was told that could facilitate as a meeting, so I'm gonna read it into the public record right now, so there's nothing being hid here.
Yeah. So, a letter from Craig Palmer to Musa Raffi, and all of the Wetland Commission is copied. Musa received the following complaints from residents. 261 Northfield Road appears to have removed the silt fence and cleared the property to the brook and river on both sides. Resident has a current permit, but I think it should be revoked and stop order put into place as soon as possible. 2, corner of Buckingham Street and Callender Road, site work has been done without a silt fence. This caused a washout during the last last storm into the roadway. They have permits? 3, Guernsey Town Road by West Road had a large washout that has filled wetlands. Craig drove by or somebody drove by and didn't see any erosion controls taken. Who is responsible? 4, 1106 CT 63 Main Street created a large washout during the storms directly into Route 63. Do they have a permit?
Mr. Chairman, for the first item, the address is not correct. It's not 261, it should be 209 or 229. The 2 new houses, one is completed, one is under construction. The
Right.
farm,
Yeah, past it. I thought it was
no.
maybe it's 209, whatever.
If you're talking about those 2 houses, one is completed, all finished,
Yep.
one is under construction with the
The one,
barn.
Been there a couple
right,
times.
so we've been there a couple
Yeah,
times.
that is 209 and
Okay.
229.
Okay.
Just for your information, both of them are farmers and they have certificate from the state of Connecticut and they can farm there. The only permit that we issued was for the construction of the building. And
No, this is the
unfortunately-
house one.
Yes, both houses.
He's a farmer?
They have more than 5 acres of land, and this land was hayed in the past, and they want to hay it again, and they went to the state of Connecticut, both of them, and I have their certificates here ready for you if you want to look.
So drilling a well, is there plans for a house to go up on that lot?
Which lot?
The 209?
Yeah, they already submitted
one
their
next to that,
application.
yeah.
You remember they came to
revoked
you?
it.
No,
No,
they
no,
came to you, they
yeah.
removed it, and then they submitted a new plan that is outside of the regulated area. Everything is outside of the regulated area.
Oh, so building a house has everything,
But it still should have
I
some
got
sense.
one of these letters, I could build a house without a permit?
So he.
No, you can, no, for the house, you have to get permits, but for farming,
Get those at midnight.
So he can clear and disturb with no silt fence, nothing?
he's a farmer, he was haying in the
No,
past
but
50
you
years.
can't build a house. Well, the problem is
No.
the house, the disturbance there's no silt fence.
Did you go by and look at it, Moose, or no?
No, I
Where
got
the
it today.
drill rig's sitting there and
Yes.
the slurry is going down.
If he's doing farming there, and.
Drilling a well is
Building a house
farming?
isn't
I'm sorry?
farming.
Drilling a well is farming?
No, that's a part of the house, but
Right,
that's
so
outside
that's
of.
where the
Everything
problem
from
is.
there is going down.
I'm
That
talking
is outside
about
of
the
the-
house that's completed. I'm not talking about the farmhouse. I'm talking about the second house that we did a walk on.
Yes.
That's the one, you went there already to complain.
Yes,
Now he's all of a sudden converted to a farm.
yes, and this is his certificate.
And they actually just, in the last 2 days, put an access road through that wall within the upland review area. But you know the wall he built at his driveway?
Yes.
Between there and the brook, supposed to do nothing. They stumped it all out. I said something about that, and I actually told him to stop, and then he came to see you. And now they've cut a road into down there. Between his wall, where they were supposed to do nothing in the upland review area there, they cut and graded a driveway into the backyard.
Which one you're talking about?
The
one,
built house.
The built house.
The one that's built.
Built.
Not the
Not the
one-
one with the barn.
Barn, no.
No,
Okay.
but the built house
Yeah,
is.
both of them, they went to the state of Connecticut, they got this certificate that they are
Well,
farmers.
right, but that's
But
fine,
for
but that's,
construction of the road, I can go there and check that.
that's in the wetland, that's in our permit, that
Yeah.
nothing was done
Right.
from that wall to the brook nothing was supposed to be done. And they've now
No, But
done
at
that.
that time, it was a building lot. Now it is a farm. When he came to you,
Right.
it was a building lot. He went to the state of Connecticut and got the farm status. Now it's a farmer. He's a farmer and that's a farm.
All right, so as a farmer, you can do whatever you want, I get that.
Basically,
So,
yes.
but you can't, and you would know, you can't include the property that the house has to have as part of the farm.
That's up to the state. And our zoning regulation says, if you have 5 acres of land, you are a farmer. You can have a farm. That's it.
Yeah,
In Watertown, if you have 5 acres of land, you can have a farm. You can raise animals, you can grow crops, you can do whatever you want to do as a farmer. But the
Okay, so
Measurement that which part is a part of farm or the house or not, that is something for the state, not for us. Our zoning regulation allows that.
Right,
if you have
5 acres is a
that's
farm and
it.
it includes, it doesn't matter if your
That's it.
house is part of it, nothing, just
If you
5
have
acres.
100
right?
horses or 2 horses or whatever you want, there is no.
Yeah, it's
limit.
ridiculous, yeah, I know that, but.
Just so you know, this letter here, it doesn't state by the state that you have a farm. This here is a farmer's tax exemption permit. It's just a letter that says you don't have to pay sales tax on parts, equipment, and maintenance that you do on your farmland. This has nothing to do with the dwellings, it has nothing to do with any of that stuff. And this is a heavily regulated document for 4 years by the state, and if you don't file or follow their criteria for what they granted you this letter for the heavy 4-year oversight, they'll pull it away in a second. So they need to prove income.
I don't go by this. This is an additional piece of information for me, for my file. I go by the zoning regulations. He has more than 5 acres of land,
Okay.
he's a farmer.
Is it zoned as a farm?
Yeah.
He changed the zone? Because
It
when he
says
bought
There's no
it,
zoning that says.
In
it's farm.
any residential zone
not a
in
zone
Watertown,
classification.
if you have 5 acres of land,
You're
you are a
automatically-
farm. You can have a farm, yes.
you
It's
can't.
not specific to residential, it can be elsewhere.
Anywhere.
Right, any 5
But
acres.
any
is
zone.
okay.
Because he is in a residential
Right.
zone, but in
But what
all
would you have,
residential.
let's say I buy the 5 acres across the street from it,
Yep. You're a
and I
farm.
just, it's a farm.
Yeah.
It's a farm.
But I, let's say, I just live there as my house, it's a farm?
It could be.
Not unless you go to the state and
Yeah, you got
you
$2,500 of gross receipts, expenses.
But what I'm saying is, like, do we have his $2,500?
There's nothing to do with,
that's on the state level.
there's nothing to do with us.
That's on the state
Okay.
level.
We can't do anything about it.
They're a little smarter than we are, that's all.
I'm talking about my jurisdiction
right,
or other.
right.
There
Yeah,
is
there's
two
nothing I
different
can
things.
do, yes.
Right.
There's
There's
nothing
2
I can
different
do.
things.
Paul, do you know, what about the corner of a commercial or a Calendar Road in Buckingham? I don't think that's a wetlands issue. Did anybody go up there? know
Yeah,
everybody-
I know what you're talking about, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if, Musa, you've heard anything about
No.
what they're doing? No.
You think you'd take a ride by there and see, I mean,
Yeah, I
the
could.
highway had to go out in overtime and
It's
clean up
like
the mess. I
Upland
don't
Road,
understand why
Calendar
it's the
Road is
taxpayers'
before
fault.
it.
All right, we'll go take a look.
Yeah, you know,
And what about
Upland
Guernsey Town
Road?
Road?
It's
Guernsey
before
Town
it.
is part of that project, that Carrera Construction is liable.
Right, don't we
I
have?
know
a-
Mr. Lukowski emailed him, and they're aware of what, they need, what to do.
Right, but he didn't show up that night.
No. They
And
said
we-
their crew is, or the latest email I saw, their crew is away until Monday. He said it's gonna be taken care of till next week, so.
Right. But why is
Isn't
there
it in
no?
our permit that it's within 24 hours it
Yeah.
will be repaired
Right.
and notified, and none of that
Yeah.
was done? So
None,
what
none.
we could, of course, we're gonna, if you penalize them, you're penalizing the town, but
No, but they're, isn't
they're
there's a-
going against the permit.
Right, there's a full-time inspector there, correct?
Right.
Okay,
correct.
so I don't understand, there's not one piece of silt fence, one bale of hay, it went down West Road, went right through the guy's garage. I don't understand that
No, I
somebody's
don't
not
either.
responsible.
No, I don't know why that happened, Mr. Chairman, so.
We can go, did you go and see why it happened? Very obvious why it happened.
Yeah, I think Mr. Lukowski did. I've been busy. I haven't come by there.
And then Main Street, that driveway's cut in there to put a second lot up and back, I think that's a zoning issue. That 1106 Main Street, is anybody, did they come in here, they subdivide that lot? They cut a driveway in and put a wall up and back. Obviously, maybe they're gonna make a farm there too, but
It washed
I
out
think-
into the street.
somebody from the town should go down and check that.
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't know about that either, so.
I
Tell
don't
us
know
about
who approved it.
Paul, I don't know if you got a copy of this, so maybe.
I did see your email, yeah.
Oh,
I
okay,
just-
so,
I just hadn't been out to any of those.
and they mentioned tonight about the 2024 storm manual, is that what we're using now?
Yes, it's a new stormwater quality manual as
So
of
any permit after March should have been that way?
correct.
How come this one wasn't?
Did they apply? I
They
don't know
applied
when they
previous to
applied
that.
Oh, they
for,
did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
was that before
Not by
March?
much.
not by much, but they did. I think the site walk was in just January, wasn't it? February?
Well, Turnberry was April, was the site walk.
April?
The sidewalk update.
Oh, okay.
I don't know
But that's what we're using now, correct?
yeah, correct. Yeah.
and I was gonna have the bylaw chairman or co-chair look at, I thought we talked about when materials submitted the night of the meeting, we didn't have to accept it or table it.
The commission can reject that.
Right.
You can say that because I just received it now, I need more time to review
Right.
it.
We'll
But
take
in
it
the
effective.
office, I cannot reject it.
Okay,
Correct.
right.
Anything we receive, we can take it effective for the next scheduled meeting.
Yeah, you can
That's
say that,
all.
and we table it until we
Yeah,
review
automatically.
this information.
We'll automatically accept it in the next public meeting, we have.
No, well,
You can do that.
what happens if that gets us outside of our allotted time?
Yeah.
They have to give us a extension?
They don't
No,
have to.
if that is the case, they can withdraw their application and resubmit it, and then the clock
Yeah.
starts from zero.
Okay.
It's not our fault.
Just I wanted to, right.
It's not on us.
No, it's their problem.
Just wanted to be clear.
And actually, Mr. Chairman, I have one kind of suggestion or recommendation, and if you are agree with me, in future, if you have a project and you want to have a third-party review, can you please ask that at the beginning of the process? Don't wait until but when we go on the sidewalk and we come back, the next
Right.
meeting, you should say, this is a large project and we need a third party to review this. Because I need some time to find somebody to do it.
Right.
And then we don't want to end up in a situation like this one.
But that
at the last minute.
That wasn't our fault, because they knew that they had to have one done as part of the entire processing through the state of Connecticut. So that's what
Right.
I brought up during one of the meetings. Why did we go last minute? Why didn't they put us through hoops? And we had to go through and debate on our committee whether it should be a third-party review or not. That was ridiculous on their part to put us through that.
Yes.
They knew they had to do it, and that was wrong of them.
If you want it, just the first night that you receive the application, if you don't do it that night, at least after you have your site walk, the second night of the meeting, when you schedule your public hearing for the month after, that is the time that we say that because this is a significant activity, we also want a third-party review. That I can hire somebody before the start of the public hearing. And during the public hearing, we have all the information that we need, not at the last minute like tonight. It is just a suggestion.
Okay.
In future, if you wanted to do it as soon as you can, don't wait until the last minute.
I think, Moose, I think most of the time we do ask at the beginning, like when we go on the field trips, but I think with this one over, we probably just, either we forgot, but we never told them.
It's over, but in future, we should pay
Yeah, we
attention.
normally
that
do it for
we should-
everybody.
At the beginning of the process, we should ask for that.
All right. 13 reports from staff, none. Public participation, none. Adjournment at 8:18.
Make a motion,
Make a
adjourn.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, second, all opposed.
Aye.
Aye.